In Trinidad, not every story is just a story. Here are some true Trinidad paranormal tales if you dare to listen.
We are back. We're back with another Trini paranormal, Trini scary story, Trini folklore for you today. And you know what's really scary? Scary stories in the nighttime. Do you know what is even more scary? Scary stories in the nighttime that are based on true accounts that are sent in to us by our followers. I know it's even more scarier. It's scary stories that happened to our followers in their bedrooms while they slept. So if you don't want to sleep tonight, or if you're brave, just stick around and tell me what you think about our two experiences that we had from two different people today when they slept. So first person said, "Good night. After some experiences you have shared, I'm inspired to share my experience. I would like to remain anonymous. It was in the late 80s or early 90s. My sister and I both shared a bed. This was in Princestown. She was 16 and I was 10. She, being the older one, slept at the end of the bed, of course. I was awakened to seeing a tall, dark figure floating. It had no feet, because I saw a coat moving as though the wind was blowing it, and there was no fan or open window causing this movement. It was as though there was a grim reaper, but instead of a staff with a blade, it had something resembling a crystal ball on the top of the staff. This was floating in the air at the feet of the bed and at the feet side of my sister. My big sister, who could sleep through a hurricane, didn't wake up, so I was the only one that saw it. It was about 10 feet tall." Our second person said, "Hi, good day. I have so many stories to share with you. My first ever paranormal experience was that my sister and I were sound asleep. She's younger, so I would normally sleep at the end. One night, I felt her moving. I woke up because I thought she was having a bad dream. Only when I woke up, I saw her feet was in the air and something was dragging her out of the bed. I called out to her. Her eyes were closed. I got really scared and I started to curse. She then woke up and was confused why she was almost out of the bed. We never slept with the lights out ever again." If there's one thing Trinidadians are known for, is having some very terrible experiences in the nighttime. Okay? What is that? What do you mean that is a cloak figure without feet floating around by the foot of your bed with a staff with a crystal on it? What is that? Furthermore, the next will almost get kidnapped into the air by an entity that they couldn't see. What do you all think it is? Because for me, I feel like creatures tend to harass, especially kids, in the nighttime. Children tend to have the most scariest experience in the nighttime. So if your child, your nephew, your siblings, your cousins are little and they come to you and said, "Auntie, mommy, cousin, sister are scared, there's something in the room," best believe them. Take them out of the room and sleep with them in your room with your light on and an incense burning. And if you have a paranormal story, let me know. Hit me up in the DMs. I also have my email that's linked in my profile. I know that some of you all sent messages. I am trying to get to them as quickly as I can. So yeah, until we meet again, let's hear stories. Yay! We are back with another Trini paranormal, Trini scary story, Trini folklore for you today. And the sun hot, the place hot. It is bright. It is very bright. And I am going to tell a story, a scary story that was sent in to us in the middle of the day. So you all cannot blame me and tell me that my stories are only being told in the night and are scaring all there. So if it show up in the middle of the night, it's TikTok fault, not my fault, because I tell it when it's on hot. But anyways, this is what our person said. So this story is kind of creepy. Let me know what you all think it is. It was sent in a few months ago. It happened a few months ago. So a person said, so Sunday morning around 2 a.m. we got back from the hospital with our 19-month-old baby girl. We put her to bed, and around 4 a.m. she woke up crying very loud because when she's unwell, she's very cranky. So upon hearing my loud baby crying, what I heard was another baby crying non-stop. So I told my wife to calm down the baby because our baby is waking up the baby downstairs. So I'm hearing the baby crying non-stop, which is not my baby, and I decided to open the door, which does not make noise when it's being opened. And as soon as I opened my door, the crying baby that I was hearing suddenly stopped. The next day, I asked my neighbors downstairs if my baby crying woke up their baby, because as I said that they have a baby downstairs. And my neighbors replied that the baby was at their grandparents' last night and was not at home. Mind you, there's only around 4 houses in my street with a few empty lots. And the only people that has a baby besides us is the baby downstairs, is the neighbors downstairs. And their baby was not home. So guys, what do you think our person, our follower, heard? It sounded like it was something mimicking a crying baby outside. And I think that's very creepy. Usually they say spirits tend to mimic the cries of babies. And I've heard this story a lot where it is said that duendes or evil entities would mimic the cries of babies in the forest. And as you try to follow the cry of the baby in the forest, it will move to different locations, essentially getting you lost in the forest or have you going in circles until you are very disoriented. So it could be that, it could be a duppy baby, and we all know what a duppy baby is. It's the baby that you see crying, and when you go to lift it up, it gets heavier and heavier as you move away from where you found it, and then it tells you to put it back where you found it. Maybe it's a duende trying to lure our follower to an empty lot. But let me know, what do you all think? By the way, look out for our scary story folklore book that's going to be coming out this year. So every single story that you tell me, I am documenting it in a book that will be available in October. So look out for our scary story book. It's going to have all of your stories in there. It's going to probably have your story that you sent in there as well. So stick around. We are back with another Trinity Paranormal, Trinity Scary Story, Trinity Folklore for you today. And your girl have a very interesting story for you. And this one was actually told to me by my cousin. So this is like word of mouth. And it's super creepy, but very interesting. So I just want to know what you all think about it. So we've heard a lot of stories in the hospitals from doctors, nurses, night guards, attendants in the hospital, where there are very creepy paranormal experiences around. But do you know who also have like some of the most craziest experiences? Our EMTs. Those are our emergency medical technicians, or the people always see in the ambulance. My cousin is an EMT, and he told me this story a few nights ago, and he was telling me that some of the experiences that they have are not necessarily medical. Sometimes it can be seemingly spiritual or paranormal experiences. He said he was called one time to Las Lomas to pick up a 13-year-old girl who was acting erratic. So they go to Las Lomas and they are coming out of the ambulance, and he watches or glimpses into the window. He sees this 13-year-old girl, typical 13-year-old girl, very small, slim, tiny frame. She's fighting down her 3 older brothers who are actually muscular, as he explained. Big, tall, muscular guys, and she's manhandling them in the house. They can't even hold her down. They're wrestling her to the ground, and she's basically like throwing them all side, giving them a hard time. Mind you, she's tiny, a tiny 13-year-old. He looks at his colleague and he's like, "Are you seeing what's happening in there?" He's like, "Yep." So they go in. She's acting erratically. She has the strength of like a grown man. Family does not know what's going on, and they didn't know what to do, so they called the ambulance to come pick her up. Now, as he sees what's going on, he prepares the stretcher. Now the stretcher has these buckles that goes over your chest, over your waist, and he also prepares like bandages on the sides of the stretcher so that he could strap her hands down as well, because she was acting pretty erratic. Now it takes all of them to wrestle her down and put her into the stretcher. He buckles her in on her chest, buckles down by her waist, and he bandages her hand with the bandage from her elbow straight to her hand, so she's on both sides like this, and she's unable to move, and she's yelling and screaming and cursing in different voices. He says when they take her into the ambulance, she starts speaking in tongues. She will go unconscious for a few minutes. She'll wake up and her eyes are bloodshot, and she's talking in a different language, sometimes in a different voice. At one point, the voice told my cousin, who's EMT in back, that she's going to find him and she's going to kill him. She goes unconscious again. She comes back up. Her eyes are bloodshot again. She's saying that she's a 900-year-old entity. She's explaining to him who she is. There were about more than a dozen different voices and entities that manifested while she was strapped down to the stretcher, as she went in and out of consciousness, and her eyes went from bloodshot to normal to bloodshot again. Absolutely terrifying to them. They reach the hospital, and they're now unloading her off of the ambulance. And as soon as she's unloaded out, the strap and the buckles that are on her chest going straight down to her waist flies open. Every single one unbuckles, and she sits up. Fortunately, the bandages in her hands were still bandaged, and she couldn't move, so she's sitting up with her hands still at each end, and she's telling them to let her go. She needs to leave, let her go, because she's going to kill all of them. So they carry her into the emergency room. They give her a shot of Valium, and for those who know what Valium, it's very strong. You will sleep away, you'll sleep away dead. They hit her multiple shots of Valium, and she never went to sleep. She was still acting erratic. She was still speaking in tongues. And they realized that it was not something medical, but it seemed to be something spiritual. So let me know, guys, what do you think happened? Do you think that she was possessed? Do you think there's a medical explanation for her reaction and her not even having any sort of reaction to the medication that she was getting, and her unbelievable strength for a frail 13-year-old girl? I know there are a lot of EMTs out here, EMTs and even other services like the police and stuff. They tend to see very paranormal things. So if you are an EMT or you work in the hospital, you work as a security guard or even a police coast guard, let me know if you all have ever had any paranormal experiences happen to you in the workspace.
My microphone glitched.
We are back with another Trini Paranormal, Trini Scary Story, Trini Folklore for you today. I don't know if you will ever realize that I always check this ever so often to see this green light. So once the green light is on, I know that my mic is on. But I will put on my mic and then it shuts off, and then it glitches or it just starts blinking. So every time you see me doing this, I'm just making sure that the mic is on when I'm telling a scary story. But we are back today with a scary story that was sent in to us. Happened in Trinidad, but our person is all the way from Toronto. Hi. So stick around and let's talk about this story. So a person said, "Good morning from Toronto. I grew up in Trinidad and my family has a land and a house in Quarapo. I can't pronounce it. Quarapo, just obliquely opposite the cemetery. From the kitchen window, in the kitchen, you could see the cemetery. Back then, it used to be pitch black, and my great aunt, used to make us bake in the night, and we would often be in the kitchen baking late at night. One night, I was looking out the window towards the cemetery and saw a big ball of fire just fly up out of the cemetery and go over to the house that was right next to the cemetery. Listen, I stared at that thing and I asked my cousin and everyone around me what it was. Remember, I was 9 years at the time and I've never seen anything like this. My old aunt told me that it was a sukunya. To this day, I could remember seeing it as plain as day. She told me that to look out for any bruises on my body and to say my prayers before I go to sleep. For years, when I come to Trinidad and I get any bruise or I feel really tired, I would blame it on a sukunya. So one thing I've always been very confused or very intrigued about was, what would a sukunya look like if not in its fireball form? Now, many people see sukunyas and many see it flying across the sky, many see it descending onto its victims' homes, see it in between the bushes, when they're walking home late at night. But what I've always been curious about was, what do a sukunya look like? So if you know about sukunyas, you know that they shed their skin and put it in a jar. They turn into a ball of flame and then they go get their victims. Now, it is said that they make you sleep very strong. So when they go to the victim's home, they will often fan them when they're sleeping. So they fall into this deep trance-like sleep where they are unable to be awoken when the sukunya bites, sucks, or hits. So sukunyas don't always suck blood. It is said that they sometimes hit you to bruise you up. But has any Trinidadians ever gotten awake? My phone vibrated and I got scared. But has any other Trinidadians ever were awakened or woken by a sukunya in the act of haunting them, biting them, bruising them? Let me know. The year may be new, but guess what is not going to change? Trini Paranormal, Trini Scary Story, Trini Folklore. And we do have a Trini Folklore for you today. Well, actually, it's a scary story that was sent in, and I took some time off, and that time I recouped and I gathered more scary stories. So we're going to have a lot of scary stories being told in the next few months. So our follower said, I was around 8 or 9 years old when this had happened. I was in Trinidad since my mother was in school in Trinidad. And my auntie was sick, but she was the one who used to take care of me. So this happened in Tobago. I was laying on my bed and I heard my mom's phone rang. When I heard it was my granny, she then took the phone off of loudspeaker so I couldn't hear what was being said. All of a sudden, my mom looked really sad and she wasn't able to, or she could not, or did not know how to tell me the heartbreaking news that my auntie had passed away. I started to shake, knowing I was close to her, and we decided to go back to Tobago for the funeral. So the funeral happened and everything had passed, and one night I was lying in bed with my other aunt and my cousin Jada when we heard in the other room where my auntie, who died, used to sleep. We heard baskets moving so loudly, so I asked them if it was grandma inside there, but they said it was not her. So the next night, I decided to sleep in the room along with my cousin, and around 2 in the morning, I woke up to a dark shadow of a woman standing in front of me. I couldn't move or say anything, and then I looked at her, and when I looked at her face, I was horrified to see that she did not have a face. She was a faceless woman, dark figure just standing in the room. I then screamed, making my older cousin wake up, and we then tried to explain everything to my aunt. To this day, when I go to that room, I still feel weird. Faceless. We started off the year with our faceless female shadow in the middle of the night just walking around. Yeah. But as you all know, this could be like multiple reasons, multiple explanations. When I say multiple explanations, I mean multiple paranormal explanations. So firstly, it could be that the aunt did not cross over. She's either holding on to family members or any worldly possessions that she didn't want to leave, or she's just afraid to cross over and has been roaming the earth. That could be one. It is also believed that when a family is mourning, especially when you're close to someone or just generally experiencing death, there's a lot of negative emotions. There's sadness, anxiety, depression, anger, confusion. All these negative emotion tends to make people emotionally susceptible and vulnerable. When their guard is down like that and they're at their weakest, it makes it easier for spiritual or paranormal activities or attacks. And then thirdly, we all know that graveyards are used for negative spiritual activities, and the graveyard dirt is used in certain rituals to do bad things. So generally, cemeteries can be filled with evil entities, evil spirits, sometimes the spirits of people who are at unrest and they have turned to something sinister are roaming the cemeteries. So if you're in a funeral and there's a burial happening and you're emotional and your guard is down and you have a spiritual or light shadow, things tend to latch onto you. And when it latches onto you, it will follow you around, follow you at home. So we don't know. We don't know what our follower experience, but a faceless woman in the middle of the night seems to be quite terrifying. Let me know, have you all ever had a paranormal experience, like right after somebody died or a family member died and you all had some scary paranormal experience? Let me know. And before you go, don't forget, if you ever had a Trini paranormal, Trini scary story, Trini folklore for us, or a family member had an experience and you want us to know, don't be afraid to hit me up in the DMs. So until next time, I will be seeing you all on the next scary story.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like for more Trini paranormal content.